For those of us who've joined us in Napa before, you know the Beta SMB Institute Leaders Forum is special. It's a special location, a special venue, and best of all, special people. We pride ourselves on curating an A-list of attendees, the best and brightest leaders of our $500 billion plus business to small business marketplace. And every day we are adding speakers, workshops, and special events to this intimate forum, all of it highlighting the shared challenges and opportunities in a setting that drives casual and candid exchange. Join us at the 2022 Beta SMB Institute Leaders Forum, May 11th and 12th in Napa, California. Tickets are on sale now at betasmbi.com/leadersforum22. Hey, good day, everybody. Dave Walker here again with the Forward 22 conference, and I've been looking forward to this session. We actually have a bookend session to this. We wanted to talk about customer experience and particularly small business expectations around customer experience as we emerge from the pandemic. And we wanted to give the expert's point of view. So we have a couple of folks from Accenture talking about the research that they've been doing of late and what they're really seeing as far as customer service expectations, customer experience expectations from SMBs. But I also wanted to talk to practitioners, and I can't think of two better practitioners to query on this subject of what they're seeing customer experience. So let me introduce them in turn. Dave Hughson from Trinet, welcome.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Great to have you. And then you've seen him before. He's one of my favorite interviews to do, Joe Pascaretta of D&B. Welcome, Joe.
Well, thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Great to have you guys. Why don't we kick off? I'm not going to presume that everybody knows who you are. They should. But who you are, what your companies do, what the products and services are that they deliver. So starting with you, Dave.
Sure, David. So my name is David Hughson. As you said, I'm the Vice President of Sales at Trinet. So I lead a team of sales consultants and sales leaders, and I have a specific focus on the Eastern United States. So I reach about 26 states with my team. Trinet is a publicly traded $5 billion company. We're a professional employer organization. So to put that simply, it means that we provide SMBs in particular with a full service HR solution, and we tailor that solution by industry. At last count, we support north of 16,000 small business clients across the United States. And our mission, as we've framed it, is to power the success of small and medium-sized businesses by supporting their growth and enabling their people, which is something that I'll certainly talk about more as we go through the conversation. So thanks again for having me.
Excellent. And Joe, how about you?
So I'm Joe Pascaretta. I'm the general manager of our global small business division here at Dun & Bradstreet. And Dun & Bradstreet has been around a long, long time, over 180 years, with the primary focus on business data and insights. And I'm lucky enough to lead our strategy and go-to-market for small businesses, small business owners, not only in the United States, but actually around the world. And the tools and capabilities that we provide small business owners help build and manage business credit, but also give small business owners access to capital and the ability to impact their credit scores. So we're very, very excited to be doing that with over 2 million small businesses here in the United States alone.
So Joe, starting with you, talk a little bit about what you saw in the last 2 years from those 2 million plus small businesses that you guys serve, particularly what their expectations were of the kind of relationship and experience they wanted to have with you.
Yeah, so D&B's been working with small businesses for many, many years. And when you look at our business model, in particular, over the last 5 years, how small businesses would actually work with D&B was pretty interesting. A lot of it involved the telephone, a lot of it involved manual processes and things that took time out of a small business owner's busy day. And we saw that as being a real challenge. We saw the real need in this pivot towards digital and self-service and online, and of course, mobile-friendly tools and capabilities. And so we assessed our go-to-market right before the pandemic in 2019, which is actually when I joined the organization, to say, let's take a step back. Let's put the customer in the front and center of everything we're doing. and let's live the day in the life of a small business owner. So I actually had the privilege of being a customer of D&B way back before I started in the organization. And I was a landscaper in Detroit, Michigan. And so I was always out and about. I was always in my trucks. I was always checking up on workers and never had the time between 9 and 5 to pick up the phone and call D&B and manage my business credit. So I knew firsthand, we need to give small business owners tools and capabilities that they can use 24/7, no matter where they're at. And so we launched this right before the pandemic began, and we saw an explosion in the amount of subscribers, new subscribers, and smaller micro businesses taking advantage of building and creating their business profile, which ultimately helps them to get access to capital, to get more favorable loan terms, and of course, better rates with suppliers. So we saw an explosion through this notion of digital first products, capabilities, and tools that allows small business owners to self-serve and log in no matter what time of day it is.
So Dave, same question. What did you see over the course of the last 2 years?
Yeah, I think, going back to really the beginning of the pandemic at the start of 2020, I think one thing we saw, I guess I would define it across 2 phases in these last 2 years. But first, we're handling some very sensitive issues on behalf of our clients, right? We're supporting their payroll, we're supporting their access to medical benefits and other things of the like. And so, at the outset of the pandemic, I mean, we felt a pretty immense obligation to make sure that we were providing them a lot of education and support. And so that first phase of just reaction and education, and we spun up some webinar series and other things that were just designed to say, hey, this thing has happened now, and we're going to be going through things like the PPP loan process, and you're going to have questions that you've never had to deal with before, like layoffs, for example, or furloughs for employees. And those were all things that we just put as I said, a pretty intense focus on just education around. That then shifted into the second phase, which starts to get to what I think Joseph was talking about, which is, okay, now you've got this new workplace, this new environment that everybody was operating in. So you've got organizations that we support that maybe prior to 2 years ago had a single office in Manhattan that all of their employees were working from. And now all of a sudden they have employees across 16 states. And that's not something that they'd ever thought they were going to be dealing with before. They were unfamiliar with the compliance landscape around that. So that's where the conversation shifted to. And I think, as we talk some more, I can talk about how we've created the tools and processes and other things to help enable that. But yeah, it was that initial shock and awe and education around how they were going to navigate a global pandemic and just a much more complex work environment.
Well, let's unpack that question. And Joe, I'll come to you on it. What are some of the processes and tools that you guys have, I don't want to say had to create, but wanted to create over the course of the last 2 years to really better serve your small business customers?
Yeah, so the biggest one, and I always try to take, challenging economic times and take a look at how did it actually make for a better outcome with regards to small business and education. And one of the biggest things is it actually forced small business owners to realize that there is a difference between business credit and personal credit. And, as David was mentioning, around emergency capital or some of the government programs, many of those programs required small business owners to take a look at their business credit, and they didn't even know they had business credit. So one of the tools that we launched was the ability to look at your business credit, look at your scores, get a snapshot of your scores 100% for free and 100% on the web, which is very similar to more of a consumer-like experience. And that was actually part of our strategy before the pandemic began, but that was one of the top platforms that we launched into where we see over 2,000 signups a day and growing. We've been very pleased with that. But in particular, this pandemic, the last 2 years, has really raised awareness around the need for building, managing, and maintaining your business credit profile, and knowing that's what lenders look at, whether it's the government or whether it's private institutions. That is so critical to get access to that capital, whether it's a credit card or an emergency loan. So that's been one of the biggest things that we've done over the last 2 years is build those platforms to allow those small business owners to get access.
And so, Dave, similarly, I would imagine that the example you gave of the small business who suddenly realizes they have to figure out 16 different state tax codes and compliances for all their virtual workers. What were, similar to what Joe was talking about, what were some of the demands that those small businesses were, frankly, really focused on that they didn't realize they had to be focused on? What were some others?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so, tactically, to your point, a lot of it is around, state registrations and other things, and making sure that they understood that they would actually have to register as an employer in that state. And that's something that we, we're well set up to support them with. And it's something we'd always been doing. But to your point, they just weren't aware of it prior to that. Other things like, again, access to credit, as Joe mentioned, we built self-service reports that they could access in our platform that would allow them to, apply for those loans that maybe they needed to weather the storm early on in the pandemic. I think the other thing that has shifted quite a bit is just the focus on those digital tools for that employee base that may be operating across different time zones. Again, Joe gave the example of being in the field earlier in his career, but that access to information on your fingertips through our mobile app, being able to take action on certain important, employer-related tasks on a mobile basis was something that we had put a big emphasis in, even prior to 2020, but continued to invest in. I think the other shift that we saw over this time period is like, you have layered on top of the pandemic, you have now like the Great Resignation and people starting to think differently about what they want from their employee experience. And so, while these small business owners were already navigating the complexities of just the tactical side of this new workplace, now how do I retain my people? Like, how do I make sure that they want to come back to work every day? And so I think, for many people, things that they had previously viewed as sort of commodity, like, of course, I'm going to offer medical benefits to my employees. Of course, I might have some type of retirement offering. I think they had to take a much, harder look, frankly, at what they were offering and try to understand if they were able to be competitive in this new, very, extremely competitive war for talent. So I think that's another thing that, we've had to be partners to them and supporting them and making sure they're making the right decisions, the right investments, not just to be compliant, like we were talking about before, but also to make sure that they could be competitive, as we come out of this.
So both of you have given, kind of a terrific, good, snapshot of what the last 2 years of like and the changes in what customer expectations, what they had, their expectations of you and experience. Is it your sense, as we sit here on February 28th, 2022, are they moving out of survival mode? Small businesses moving out of survival mode? Are they actually ready to get growing again? What's your take, Joe?
We think the ones that have survived, the ones that have, made it through this, even during difficult times over the last 2 years, we believe the small business owners are coming out even stronger and are ready to take on pretty much anything at this point. I mean, if you look at what they've gone through over the last 2 years, we thought the 2008 financial crisis was difficult. This is storied times in and of itself. But we believe the small businesses have adopted, especially the ones that have been in business for more than 10, 20 years, leveraging digital tools, social, new ways of marketing to acquire new customers. As David mentioned, new ways of engaging with their own employees, working remote. When I ran a small business, I wouldn't even consider employees working from home or leaving directly from their home to go to the job site. That was not even in our vocabulary, let alone being able to manage or maintain hour slips and things of that nature. It would just be near impossible to even think about. And if you look at today, it's the new norm. The new norm, leveraging new tools, capabilities, and platforms, but also how they engage and how they work to get access to capital or work with suppliers. We're seeing the supply chain crisis not only impact us personally. I'm sure the three of us here, are dealing with it day in, day out at the grocery stores and in where we interact daily. But you look at the small business owners and I talk to small business owners every day, and you hear some pretty remarkable stories how they're adapting to these challenges, and they're really coming out on top. So I think the ones that have made it through, the ones that have persevered and really came out on top, I think they're up for the challenge. And that's the entrepreneur in them. That's the fight they chose to take on. And it's great to see some success stories. So we believe the ones that have made it through, the ones that have been newly incepted, maybe they made the leap of faith and said, I'm going to launch a business in these trying times. Good for them. Great. We believe they've been weathering the storm, but also leveraging new tools and capabilities to help them grow and acquire new customers.
And Dave, how about from your perspective? Are they ready to get growing again?
Yeah, this isn't going to be that fun if Joe and I just agree on everything, but yeah, we absolutely are seeing that. I mean, we've shared in some of our recent earnings calls that we've seen incredible record hiring amongst some of our clients, especially in sectors like technology, life sciences, financial services. And so, record growth in terms of our install base of clients, which I think is a good, microcosm of the larger small business economy. There's as Joe knows, I mean, there's incredible access to capital right now. I think, there's plenty of dry powder out there across the venture capital and private equity landscape that we're seeing entrepreneurs take advantage of. And I would say the only thing, kind of holding back that growth is just their ability to find great people, to go on that journey with them. And they're seeing just what a competitive environment it is for talent. And so, whether it be, for D&B or Trinet or others, if we can help enable them in going out there and finding that talent, I think that's, going to be an important piece of the puzzle in this next phase. And then, you have new small business owners that are stepping into an incredibly complex environment. So I think agility, and Joe talked about people adapting, we've been using the word agility a lot around Trinet. These small business owners have to be agile, right? Every week it feels like there's a new thing that pops up that they have to be attuned to, if you look at just the news in the last week or so. The other thing is that employees expect a lot of their employers these days. So in this environment, right, we know issues around mental health are paramount for small businesses and burnout. We see a lot of questions from our clients and their employees about topics like diversity, equity, and inclusion. And those are all things that, again, I don't know that many small business owners would have expected that they'd be on the front lines of having to address for their employees maybe a couple of years ago, but that certainly is the case today. And so to your original question, yes, they're growing, but they're going to have to be agile if they're going to continue that trend.
I think both those were terrific answers. So let me tee up a question where I think you can definitely diverge in your answers on this one, because it's really germane to the category that you guys are so such big players in. So Joe, small businesses, you're in the business of helping them manage their money effectively, which is near and dear to their heart. What are some of the big money issues and money challenges that you anticipate small business are going to have as we move forward? We certainly know what they had during the pandemic, but what are some of the big issues and challenges you foresee small businesses will have with their money going forward?
Yeah, so the big one in particular, and David made me realize, I ran a landscape company which had razor thin margins, and anytime our prices of our operating costs would go up, there would be times we would lose money on a job, but we would have to take the job just to keep our workers working or just to keep the account for the long term. Mm-hmm. So for sure, the supply chain rise in prices, whether it's fuel costs or supply costs to power my goods or services is critical. But if you look at the macroeconomic landscape, a dollar gets you less today just in general. And that's a big factor. The whole inflation component of running a business is just such a challenge in 2022. And we can go off for hours talking about, where we think that's going to go moving forward in the future. But the price of goods and services, supply chain is critical. And also, inflation is definitely one of the key challenges. The other component is rising interest rates and the variable component when it comes to loans or capital offers in the small business arena can fluctuate greatly. And that's another key concern small business owners are faced with and challenged with right now. The other big one that we see is government regulations. So whether it's impacting how, if there is any emergency capital to be given out in the next year, sometimes those rules and regulations change. So it's, key for a small business owner to stay on top of those key inputs that could get them access to emergency funding, but also just regulations in general, whether it may be impacting the operations of their business. We've seen drastic changes over the last 2 years. Moving forward, we know many small business owners are concerned. Can they keep their doors open, and what local or federal or state level restrictions may be imposed upon their business? And that certainly could impact cash flow, which is one of the key drivers in not only managing and maintaining your business, but also the critical component of getting access to capital, which is what we do here at D&B. We help small business owners potentially impact their credit scores through a varying array of tools and channels. But that's a big one. That's a real big one. And of course, acquiring new customers is always a key challenge that we're seeing. We're seeing new mechanisms, new digital channels, new ways of going after new customers. And we're seeing small business owners invest in that area, which is great to see. But certainly it's a learning curve for small business owners for sure.
No doubt. And Dave, arguably Trinet represents the other big challenge, which is people, and all the challenges that have been created around people. What do you see going forward are going to be the biggest challenges that small business have?
Yeah, so I think, and I've touched on it already, but I still believe retention of talent, access to talent is going to continue to be paramount. Again, regardless of what sort of vertical industry, a small business owner finds themselves in, I think there just, is not enough great talent out there to fill the roles that they have available, or not the right training. And so, I think a huge investment in that, again, about putting out there packages that are going to attract great people, but then also, how to build programs in-house that help educate and skill up their people. And then, on top of that, some of the things we've mentioned, like managing in a remote environment. How do you create culture? How do you drive innovation across your teams when people are operating from different corners of the United States, or for many of our clients in different parts of the world as well? I think those are all things that are going to be, front of mind for small business owners. There's certainly a component of regulation and just shifting landscapes on that front that will be challenging. The things you have to do to stay compliant as a small business owner in any given state or at the federal level, just as an employer, are certainly not getting any easier. And frankly, those government organizations are also adapting to this new environment and operating remotely. So things that otherwise prior to 2 years ago might have been simple tasks to complete, are taking a bit longer than small business owners would like to see. So all of that, combined creates a fairly complex environment to try to grow in. And, from what we see, complexity is only increasing.
And speaking of complex environments, Joe, you've both articulated really well. Okay, here are the challenges that small businesses are facing. Here are the expectations that have grown over the course of the last 2 years that small businesses have of you. What are you doing internally to hire and train and manage those people in your organization, those processes in your organization that are intended to deliver on that for small business?
Yeah, so this one's near and dear to my heart. One of the first things I did when I came to D&B was change the way we talk and engage with small business owners. And we do that by leading with empathy. Now, obviously, with the COVID crisis and the last 2 years, this has been even more of an important challenge, just because running and owning a small business can be emotional, and especially getting access to capital. We think as consumers, buying a house or buying a car, think of that emotional process, but think about trying to get an emergency line of credit or loan to keep your business afloat, to keep your employees employed. We understand that is a absolutely emotional time period. And the last 2 years has been emotional. We talk to small business owners who have been in business for over 30 years that were struggling to stay afloat, all the way through to younger, new entrepreneurs trying to just, keep themselves busy. So we know it's an emotional time. So we've led with empathy. We've changed the way we engage over the phone. We've also tried to offer more of an advisory component to what we do. So when callers would call in, when small business owners would engage with D&B as a brand, we really try to ask questions and do need-based assessments to ensure that they are really finding and using the tools and capabilities we offer to the best fit for their organization. So that was definitely critical. And really the third component is around how we market to small business owners. So, we've been in business since 1841. And some of our marketing practices dated back to the 1800s, so to speak. So we've really changed how we've engaged with small business owners through leveraging new age, means, through social, through digital forms, in providing education tools and resources to meet the small business owner where they're interacting. And also an understanding that there are 5 generations of small business owners today, which is really, really cool to see. It's really great to see. But it's also very challenging, in ensuring that you're not forgetting a generation, and that's definitely one of the key takeaways we've had. And David, I'm sure you're seeing that as well through your education programs and outreach as well.
We are, yeah. And to pick up on one of your last points, I mean, we also have thought differently about the way we market to those customers. We actually recently launched a podcast called Shifting Grounds, and again, it speaks to that kind of agility that small business owners need to have around certain key topics that are going on today. So we've absolutely shifted, our thoughts around that. Consultative sales process, looking at this from a sales leader's lens. We know that our customers have, very specific needs as it relates to how they're serviced. But for many of our customers, they've never engaged with, a provider like Trinet, for example, to manage HR aspects of their business, or frankly, they've never managed HR at all. And so we need to make sure that we're being very educational and consultative through the sales process, and really just help them understand what their options are and why they would choose certain options, but also prepare them for how we're going to engage with them as a customer once they are, a partner to us and a part of our platform. I think the thing we've shifted on the customer experience side specifically is, I think today's consumers, not to generalize, but whether it be in terms of how we engage with products and services as consumers, or in a B2B context, they kind of want information where they want it and how they want it. They don't want us to dictate when and how they can access information or answers to different questions. So we've just tried to broaden the connection points where our customer can engage with us, whether that be through certainly our mobile app, through chat, through phone, through email. Expanding the hours which we can engage with our customers, and all of that was just in response to what we knew our customers were asking for, which was just, again, I want to engage with you on my terms, as the customer, as opposed to maybe what Trinet or others would want to see. And so, yeah, those are a couple of things we've made a big investment in. One big component of it is the mobile experience. So I think we've always had a mobile platform, and it is a key, part of our offering to customers. But how can we make more of the interactions that our customers have with us mobile first? And so if you're, a new employee onboarding with one of our client companies, you can complete the entire, new hire onboarding process on your phone, on your iPhone or on your Android phone. And those are the kinds of things that we know are going to be important today, and certainly are going to be important, I think, for the next generation of customers and their employees.
Let me put you guys a little bit on the spot here as we wrap up. There's the revised figures now are that there are close to 6.5 million new small businesses that started up in 2021, and there's no doubt that many of them are coming from corporate America. They're coming with kind of the experience, at least, of being rich in resources and so many different things being at their fingertips. They're more digitally savvy. They probably have a real genuine passion and drive. Not that all entrepreneurs don't, but they have a very specific kind of passion and drive to make their exit from corporate America work out in this entrepreneur's landscape. I've heard you both say in conversations I've had with you both before that, there's so much about what you guys offer in the form of service and product to small businesses. And you wish that they would start earlier with understanding, how to manage their money, how to manage their people, even if they're starting as a solopreneur or just one or two people. If given the opportunity to sit with a brand new small business, what's your pitch, Joe, to them of why they should start on the footing that D&B requires? And David, you have a little bit more time to think about it, but what's the pitch to them?
So really the idea of you just started a business or you're thinking about starting a business, you want to do it right. You're probably educating yourself. You're probably going on the web. One of the key components is when you register that business, no matter if it's a DBA, an LLC, an S Corp, C Corp, whatever it may be, you want to build your business credit and your business credit profile from day one. Do it from day one, do it right. Register your business, set up your business profile, and know that there's a difference between business credit and personal credit. Now, you might not need it right out of the gates. You might not even use it right out of the gates. But at some point, as you grow and build and manage your business, you're either going to need access to capital that's going to be critical, that you have taken a look and built your business credit. But you also may be trying to go after bids or contracts or even get a lease on a building or a unit. And you're going to be evaluated on that business credit, whether you know about it or not. So do it right from day one. I can go off for hours on stories of how I made that mistake. I didn't know the difference. And I lost out on a lot of opportunity for not knowing that. So build it right from day one. Sign up for D&B for free. Back in the day, that wasn't available when I ran a small business. Now it is. There are free tools and capabilities, 100% free. There are also premium tools and capabilities that can help you along the way as you grow and mature. But there are free capabilities that you can register, sign up, and we will help guide you along the way. We are there for you. You can pick up the phone and call us. You can use tools 24/7. We're there for you.
I'm sold. Okay, Dave. Tough act to follow.
It is. So, Dave, I would think about it this way, which is for any of these individuals that are looking to start a small business, solopreneur, or through to somebody that's starting with a team, think about what your differentiator is, right? It might be the product that you've developed, it might be the IP, it might be the service offering, any number of those things could be why you think you're the right person to start this new business. None of it has to do with your ability to process payroll. None of it has to do with your ability to manage the tactical day-to-day things that your either first employee or 100th employee might come to you with on the HR side of the business. And so a lot of the conversations we have with entrepreneurs are just around, hey, you focus on the things that you're great at. You focus on building the business. You focus on acquiring those first 100 customers and let us worry about the rest. And whether that's Trinet or any of the other players in our space, there are amazing partners out there that can help you just navigate that side of it. And then, I think, borrowing from a little bit of what Joe was saying, like, you can do a lot of damage too if you don't pay attention to those things on the front end, and you might have to spend a fair amount of time and money trying to correct mistakes that otherwise could have been avoided early. So that's the way we focus on it, is just focus on what you're great at and let us deal with the rest.
Well, this has been terrific, guys. Absolutely terrific, because I think that again, what you've laid out is so many of the different elements of what you guys are doing and observing and acting on are really considerations that I think everybody in the B to SMB space is going through right now. I mean, we certainly had a lot of really good stuff born in the crucible of the last 2 years, but now we're at that pivot into, okay, now what's the future look like? And you guys are clearly on it. So thanks so much for doing this. Joe Pascaretta, great to see you, man. And thank you for participating in this.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
And Dave Hughson, welcome. Both of you are new members, by the way, of the Institute in the last year. Thank you very much for joining us, and look forward to seeing you guys again soon. Take care.